All right, well, good morning. I'm Maurice Simpson, Senior Manager of State Government Affairs here at Constellation, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the iconic and historic Conowingo Dam. We are gathered here today for a momentous announcement that marks another step in our commitment to sustainable energy, environmental stewardship, and investing in Maryland. At Constellation, we always start with a safety message. So in the event the Conowingo Dam is called upon to generate more clean power to the grid, you may hear sirens that will alert the watermen and kayakers of changing water levels. So don't be alarmed by any alarms. With that, I want to recognize a few elected officials and distinguished guests that have joined us today. We have Kimberly Cradaville from the Office of United States Senator Angela Alsobrooks, Jackie Gregory from the Office of Congressman Andy Harris, the good delegate from Harford County, Delegate Andre Johnson. We have my other good friend all the way from Kent County and troublemaker, Delegate Jay Jacobs. Jay ran 3 bills against me every year on the Conowingo. He lost each time, but we're still friends. Happy to have you, Jay. Kent County Commissioner Ronnie Fithian, Queens Anne County Commissioner Patrick McLaughlin, and Vice President of the Cecil County Council, Bob Meffley. I also see my good friend Kim Coble from the Maryland League of Conservation Voters. Thank you for being here. But thank you all for being here. Your presence here truly underscores the significance of this event, and we are great for your support. Today you're going to hear from a cast of strange bedfellows who are esteemed speakers who will provide you their insights and perspectives. Following their remarks, we'll have Q&A from members of the media. Our event is scheduled to end at, well, it was 10:50, but we'll see how that goes. After that, we'll have a group photo with the speakers. So let me get started by introducing our first speaker, our host, Joe Dominguez, President and CEO of Constellation.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here, and welcome. The governor did not try to extract any additional value, but if he were inclined to do so, I just want to, this is a good one for the media to see here. That's about what's left. You know, we have a great many wonderful facilities across the nation from coast to coast. And it's astonishing as power facilities. Sometimes they're located in the most beautiful spots. Calvert Cliffs is one of those places. But for me, this is the prettiest facility we have. And it's one of the oldest facilities we have, but it's one of the most beautiful. And I think for me, like for so many of you, part of it is tied to memories we have here. For so many years, I boated just a few miles down the river out of Port Deposit. I taught my son to water ski there. So many days were spent on the water. And I'd like to think at Constellation, we understand that to those to whom much is given, much is expected. And the announcements that we have today is a recognition of that. But more important than that, it's a recognition that for our 3,500 employees here in Maryland, this is their home. This is their backyard. This is where they come to enjoy rare off days to spend with their family in this kind of beautiful spot. And so for me, it's amazing to get this done finally. And I'm going to talk about Governor Moore in just a second here and his contributions. But beyond just getting it done, and it needed to get done and wrapped up and cleared up, the other reality is that it just reflects such a win-win-win. For us, we preserve this incredibly important power facility. And as our nation looks to electrify transportation, reshore critical infrastructure, and of course power the AI and all of the economic and data economy things that we're all reading about every day, facilities like this one are going to be critically important. And what we announce here today is going to pave the way to continue to operate this for many families for another 50 years. So kind of an incredible moment here in the history of the dam. Together with Calvert Cliffs and with our wind farms in Maryland, Constellation proudly produces over 90% of the clean energy. And don't The fact that this is an older facility should not trouble you. The guts of it are kept brand new as we make state-of-the-art improvements, including the utilization of the AI at this facility to create even more energy for Maryland families and businesses. And the reliability is almost unparalleled. Brian Hansen, who's here, who runs our generation, said that together with Muddy Run, which is just up the river, the energy storage facility, this resource was called on over 4,200 times in this year alone to produce power to respond to peak demands here in Maryland. And on all but 3 occasions it responded. And even in those 3 occasions, it was just moments later, turning a switch, and we brought the power on. The reliability here is well over 99%. So let me kind of contrast that a little bit for you with different forms of energy. You know, PJM, which is the grid operator, measures all of the different forms of energy. For solar without storage, that reliability number would be more like 8%. So basically, you need 10 of these megawatts, 10 solar megawatts to account for the reliability we're getting out of this wonderful machine behind us. And all of that math is becoming acutely known to customers as we deal with the challenge of our time. How do we power this growing economy, this consumptive demand of AI that we all want to complain about, but then we all get our cell phones out and use it, and our businesses are all using it, and we're doing great things. It's the challenge of our time. How do we do that and reliably power the system? Well, the accomplishment of getting this resolved now tells us that we could count on this facility to be around for the next 50 years, and therefore we could plan around it. Additional resources. Now, together at Constellation, we've invested over $1 billion on these resources, $196 million on that resource just right here in order to make it a state-of-the-art reliable resource. And we're going to invest a lot of more money to ensure that not only is it a reliable power resource, but it's additive to the environment and this ecosystem that we all depend on and love so much, so that this beautiful place will be a beautiful place for years and years to come, not only for people, but for wildlife and all of the things that depend on this water resource. So pretty exciting time. It took us a long time to get here. There's a lot of discussion in the United States right now about permitting reform, about how long things take before they're resolved. It shouldn't have taken us 10 years to sort through all of the issues here, and that's a bit disappointing. But in sharing that disappointing news, I also have to share with you that the resolution to those permitting issues often requires people coming together that have different interests, that sometimes have conflicting interests, and bringing those folks together and making something good happen. And so as I introduce Governor Moore, what I want to tell you about him is, yeah, this is costly for us. And yeah, I don't have anything but lint left in my pockets on this one. But I'm glad it's resolved. I'm glad we could get up here and proudly say we're doing all of this work. And without his leadership and steady hand in bringing these parties together who had fought, folks, for years legally, and making sure those discussions were done professionally, that's what got us here. And it gives me great hope that as we go through permitting issues and try to figure out the future of American energy, with statesmen like Governor Moore at the forefront, bringing parties together and convening thought leaders, I think we have a chance to actually meet this moment in time. I think we have a chance to finally do what people are expecting us to do, which is bring things forward without tying it up in courts and actually get projects underway and good works underway. So Governor, come on up here, because I think in so many ways you have been the secret sauce to the great things we're announcing today. And I just want to tell you how proud I am to call you the governor of the state in which we have the home to Constellation Energy, a Fortune 100 company. Constellation will be the largest power producing company in the world. after an acquisition is hopefully completed this year. And we're so happy to have it here in Maryland, so happy to be here under your great leadership. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Joe, I want to thank you so much because the truth is we would not be here had it not been for your leadership and for your push and for your commitment. And Joe is right. It's become a common frame that people know, and to myself and our team, the line of, oh, I know you can do better than that, is a consistent line that people hear as we're negotiating. But the thing that we know is this, is that we have had a true partner inside of this work in Joe and the team in Constellation, who've been focused on making sure that we don't just get this done, but that we get it done right, and we get it done on behalf of the people. And so I just want to say thank you, because without your leadership, we would not be here today, and we appreciate it deeply. So bless you and thank you. I also just want to very briefly acknowledge something that I know is on the top of everybody's mind and on the top of all Marylanders' mind right now. And that is that we are now at the top of day 2 of a federal government shutdown. And last night I delivered a primetime address to the people of this state on actions that the state is taking in response to this unnecessary federal government shutdown, because the thing that we know is that this is not hurting a particular zip code. And this is not hurting a particular party. This is not hurting a particular part of the state. Because what we're seeing even just in Cecil County alone, that there are over 13,000 Marylanders on food assistance and Medicaid who are now rightfully concerned about their benefits. And so the thing that we want to say to the people in Cecil County and also throughout the state is that regardless of what we are seeing from Washington, D.C., that the state of Maryland has your back. That just yesterday we announced that I was authorizing initiatives such as making sure that all of our federal programs were going to be protected, things like Medicaid and SNAP, and making sure that those who are living and supporting children with disabilities, that the supports that they need, they are going to be in place for as long as we can possibly do it. That we're working with our private sector partners to ensure that there are protections against evictions and protections against utility shutoffs for federal workers during this time. That we are working with all of our partners to ensure that programs and platforms and creative platforms such as our Feds to Eds initiative, which is moving federal workers who are interested in going into careers like education, that we can streamline the process and get them as quickly as possible trained and get them into classrooms. But for all our federal workers in the state, I want to let you know that the state of Maryland has your back. And we're going to get through this. And I'm thankful for all the members of our federal delegation and the work that they're doing to make this happen as well. And to all Marylanders who are tuning in today's announcements who also want to learn more about what the state is providing during this time, please go to go.md.gov/federal shutdown to learn more about emergency services and resources that are available to you. So with that, I know there's a lot of justified fear in a lot of communities. And I know that people are seeing a lot of headwinds from Washington. But the reason that I'm so proud about today is that despite headwinds from Washington, this is a clear illustration that Maryland keeps moving forward. That I understand that we have a lot of chaos in Washington, D.C. But today is a clear indication that Maryland is showing that there is a better way. And it's important that we see everybody up here, because you notice that this is not one platform, this is not one agency, this is not one group. This is the private sector, this is the public sector, this is federal leadership, this is our Attorney General, this is our state leadership. This is what it looks like when we're actually willing to work together. Across the state, across party lines, to be able to go get big things done on behalf of people who we love and who we will support, where we saw just yesterday, the Trump administration canceled a $50 million investment that will support grid modernization, that will deploy 11 megawatts of scalable battery storage, which would have strengthened our electric grid, which would have cut costs and cut prices for the people of this state, and would have helped to build a resilient infrastructure. Just yesterday. But then what have we seen from our friends at Constellation? For the past decade, they have now invested over $1 billion in Maryland's clean energy generation alone. This is what leadership looks like. And this is what partnership looks like. Because today's announcement is not only about celebrating a promising future for the Conowingo Dam, we are here to celebrate a promising future for the 18 million people who call the Chesapeake Bay watershed home. That they are seen. And today's announcement is about supporting them too. Making sure we can breathe air that is clean. Making sure that we can have water that is clean. Making sure that we can have energy that is abundant and reliable, and where opportunities are growing. And it's true, to understand the significance of today, it's important to get a sense of what it took to actually get here. Because when I first took office, I knew that we inherited a project that was mired in lawsuits, had frustrations on all sides, where the future of the largest source of renewable energy in our state was in question while environmental impacts were being unchecked. And I had people who said to me, they had a lot of words, but it all could get summed up in basically a few simple sentences. Stay away from the Conowingo Dam. Because that problem is just too difficult to solve. And I hear that. But I think if there's one thing that this team and this administration has shown folks over the past 2.5 years, is we don't run from the hard problems. We run towards them. Because if they need to get solved properly, why not now and why not us? But it means building a table that is big enough that everybody's going to have a voice, whether it's a difficult problem like solving the scourge of violent crime or solving the issue of unemployment or being able to respond to the key bridge. That's what this team does. We put our heads down. We work as a team. We go from no and slow to yes and now. And we get the work done. And that's exactly what we have done. And that's why today we are very proud to announce that despite all the histories, despite all the challenges, as Joe said, today the deal is done. This is a historic agreement between Constellation, the state, and regional stakeholders on the future of a dam that powers over 165,000 homes. This is a win for the environment, it's a win for the economy, and it's a win for our people. Because together we are advancing an all the above approach to affordable and abundant energy. Together we are protecting the 265 Maryland jobs that are directly supporting this dam. That together we are preserving a dam that generates over $273 million in economic benefits. That together we are ensuring the good stewardship of the Chesapeake Bay. That together we are increasing transparency and accountability and securing the future of the Conowingo Dam for generations to come. Together. Because that's what's required. And it took a very big team in order for this to happen. It took the steady hand and leadership of our Attorney General. Without his leadership, we would not be here. Thank you, Attorney General Brown. It took federal leadership, and this is leadership that didn't just show up in the State House, but then took that same leadership over to Capitol Hill, because it took steady leadership from Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth as well. And I want to thank you so much, Madam Congressman. It took state leadership And having a Department of the Environment was going to ensure that we did everything that we needed to do to make it happen. And Madam Secretary, Secretary McElwain, I just want to say thank you and congratulations on a remarkable day. It took a first time that this state has the role of a Chief Sustainability Officer. And Megan Conklin, where did Megan go? I just want to say thank you so much for preserving and remembering not just what is the focus of the role of saying we're going to bring everybody together to go accomplish big things, but we're going to do it on behalf of not just the president, but on behalf of the people. Megan, I just want to say thank you and congratulations on this work as well. So bless you and thank you. And also I want to give another shout out to our team and our Deputy Chief of Staff, Shana Hernandez, for the amazing work that she did to be able to bring everyone together and bring on on. So once again, Shana, thank you for your work and your leadership as well. It took the leadership of Constellation. And one thing that we know about that is that leadership has to come from the top. That generally, when the person at the top says something's going to happen, it kind of happens. And Joe, you said this needs to happen. And that's why we're here today, and we are deeply appreciative, as always, for your leadership, and thank you so much. It took leadership of folks like Waterkeepers Chesapeake. And Robin Broder, we would not be here had it not been for the leadership that we continue to show. And so I just want to say to Robin and to all the leaders of the Waterkeepers Chesapeake, bless you and thank you. And this is a very, very big win for you all as well. So thank you so much. And Ted Evangenitis from the lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper. Now once again, we see exactly what intentionality looks like and what leadership looks like, and that it takes a big team in order to make this happen. So to you and all the folks at the lower Susquehanna Riverkeepers, I want to say thank you for all the work you continue to do as well. Thank you. Because in Maryland, we don't just talk about partnership. It's not a throwaway word. It's the way we do our work. And it's why Maryland is just moving different than the rest of the country right now. Our waterways are the great heirlooms that we share. We didn't create this. We didn't build it. We were born into it. And just like every single heirloom, it's our job to protect it, to take care of it, and to make sure that we can pass off something to the next generation that is just as beautiful, if not even more beautiful, than the way that we found it. That the Bay holds the key to the future of our culture. It fills our tables. It sustains our wildlife. It powers our homes. The Bay has been good to us. We've got to be good to the Bay. The Bay deserves it, and our future needs it. It's why our administration enacted the Chesapeake Bay Legacy Act to lift up every sector of the Bay economy. It's why I'm proud to serve as the chair of the Chesapeake Bay Executive Council, which is growing our coalition around the country and making sure that we're also holding ourselves accountable. It's why we moved in partnership to meet our commitment to restore 5 oyster sanctuaries in the Chesapeake Bay. And it's why today becomes an important part of continuing that story together. So at a time when we were watching folks in Washington who are trashing environmental protections, at a time when we were seeing the federal government raising energy costs on working families, over 20% in Maryland alone in the past 9 months. At a time when we are watching this administration making arbitrary decisions for the people instead of with them, we are proud that Maryland is showing that there is a better way, and that partnership produces progress, and nothing else will. And so I'm grateful to have one of those remarkable partners come up, and with a sincere degree of thanks for the work that he has done, but also with a deep appreciation of how his office has continued to be great partners to us, Maryland's Attorney General, Anthony Brown.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? So, Joe, it was just 2 months ago that I visited the dam. I'd driven over the dam on many occasions, but for the first time went into what Joe calls the resource. I call the facility, it's the dam. And if you haven't been in there, you ought to, because it was on that day that I realized the extraordinary benefit that this facility is to the state of Maryland. But I'd also reaffirmed my commitment and the commitment that we all share that we've got to protect the resources on both sides of the dam. And that's why we're here today, and that's what this settlement reflects. Before I offer some brief remarks, I want to share another experience. I was elected when the governor was, late November. Early January, going to my office, I did the responsible thing. I said to my team, give me the list of legal matters most pressing to the state. And to no surprise, the Conowingo Dam was on the top of that list. So I asked my team, give me the chronology, give me the history. What are the issues? Who's involved? My head was spinning. And the best and only guidance I could give to my team at that time was let us fully understand what the goals and the priorities are of Governor Moore and his team, and let's help them get to yes. Because I knew that they would be firm in their commitment to the environment. They would be firm and fair in their negotiations with Constellation, and they would be firmly committed to ensuring that all partners, all stakeholders were at the table. So, Governor, I want to thank you for your leadership, and certainly thank you for inviting me to join you today. Good morning. Today does mark a historic victory for the Chesapeake Bay, for the Susquehanna River, and for every Marylander whose livelihood and quality of life depend on clean water. The Chesapeake Bay is Maryland's most precious natural resources, the largest inland estuary in North America, if not the world. The settlement and water quality certification prove that we can secure major environmental investments while maintaining our state's authority to protect water quality standards and ensure compliance with our environmental laws. Our attorneys at the Office of the Attorney General have worked on this case for 9 years, serving as legal advisors, litigators, and negotiators through all its twists and turns. And I want to particularly recognize Andrea Baker, our principal counsel at the Maryland Department of the Environment. Her team, including Jonathan May and Emily Vanieri, want to thank you as well. Thank you for your exceptional work navigating the complex legal challenges that brought us to this day. Thank you. Their work has produced an agreement that ensures that our children and grandchildren will inherit a Chesapeake Bay and Susquehanna River that are cleaner and healthier than they are today. I said to the governor, who's coming up, I said, this is a big day for so many reasons, but yet it's another moment where Marylanders can and should, and I certainly will right now, recognize Governor Moore's extraordinary leadership. We've seen that leadership in tragic moments, like the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. We saw that in celebratory moments, like the 15-year extension of the Baltimore Orioles to stay at Camden Yards. And we see it yet here again today. Governor Moore inherited a legal setback when he took office. The 2021 FERC license had been vacated by the federal court, and with it, the 2019 settlement, just weeks before Governor Moore's inauguration. But under his leadership, Maryland didn't just restore what we lost. We avoided and achieved, I should say, something far greater. This $341 million settlement represents $111 million more than the previous agreement. Funds that will directly improve our water quality, restore vital aquatic resources and habitat, and protect the ecosystem that sustains Maryland's seafood industry and tourism economy. That is the difference that strong leadership makes. So again, Governor Moore, thank you for not just being in the position, but leading from that position. Thank you, Governor Moore. So just as important, this settlement preserves our regulatory authority and includes the environmental advocates as full partners. The Department of the Environment will retain full power to enforce compliance with water quality standards, and that matters. We learned hard lessons from the previous settlement that was vacated by the federal court. This time, we've built a legally sound framework that respects both federal licensing requirements and Maryland's sovereign authority to protect our waters. How we reach this agreement matters just as much as what's in it. By bringing Waterkeepers Chesapeake and the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association to the table as full partners in mediation, my understanding is no less than 30 mediation sessions, we've built broader support and reduced the likelihood of future legal challenges. When environmental advocates, state regulators, and the dam operator can reach consensus, that's how we make real, lasting progress. Where did I put the emphasis there? I apologize. For Constellation, who operates the dam, we make real, lasting progress. The terms of this settlement will deliver tangible benefits: improve fish and eel passage, freshwater mussel restoration, enhanced trash and debris removal, and water quality and resiliency projects throughout the watershed. The governor put out a few numbers, fearful of being redundant. I thought about remarks, and yes, there's at least one fact that I'm going to give you that the governor didn't in terms of the benefits. These investments will strengthen Maryland's $3.2 billion bay economy and the nearly $600 million contributed annually by our seafood industry. I particularly want to thank and acknowledge Congresswoman Elfridge for being here today and her work. As the former chair of the Chesapeake Bay Commission and now a member of the House Natural Resources Committee, she brings deep expertise on the issues that we're addressing today. So thank you, Congresswoman Elfridge. None of this would be possible without the leadership of Secretary McElwain and your team at the Maryland Department of the Environment. And certainly I want to thank Secretary Kurtz in his absence and his team at the Department of Natural Resources throughout this very complex process. I want to acknowledge and thank once again Joe Dominguez and Constellation Energy, Robin Broder and Waterkeepers Chesapeake, and Ted Evgenadis. Close enough, he said, and the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association for engaging constructively to reach this resolution. And most of all, and once again, I am grateful to Governor Moore for his unwavering commitment to Chesapeake Bay restoration and the support that made this agreement possible. This 50-year agreement is our commitment to future generations of Marylanders. And as Maryland's Attorney General, I am proud that this agreement protects both our environment and our legal authority to safeguard it for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, Governor and Attorney General. I had the opportunity to work for the Attorney General back in the day, a long time ago, and so when he got sworn into as Attorney General, it was one of the first calls I made was, Mr. AG, I need your help on this water quality certification. He said he'll help, he'll do the best he could, but he didn't tell me how long it would take. But I'm glad we're here today, and so thank you. And another call I had started making was right around the inauguration ball when I found out that our next speaker, Secretary McElwain, was going to be appointed to MD Secretary. So I made it that point that night to find her and make friends with her family because I knew we were going to go through this process together. So, so I hope they're doing well. So without further ado, Secretary of Maryland State Department of Environment, Secretary Serena McElwain.
Here I am thinking, you just liked me. I tell you. Well, it is a good day. I'm just going to give you a quick story. When I started as secretary, I learned about Constellation and the Conowingo Dam and the settlement and what happened. I learned that it took 9 years. I learned that it was settled about maybe 3 years before we started our administration. And then something happened where we got involved with the FERC taking that license that we gave away. And so I was told that, well, everything kind of went wrong with the negotiations before we started. One was we didn't have the right people at the table, rightfully so, and thank God we did this time around. And I said to my team, make sure the right people, the Waterkeepers, are at the table this time. The next thing I was told was, well, this takes a long time, these kinds of negotiations, and that's why it's taken so long. And I told Lee's here, my staff, I work for this man named Wes Moore. I can't tell him this is going to take another 9 years. So it was like, well, Secretary, you need to be realistic. I was like, all right, I'll be realistic. You tell me what's realistic. They said, we could get this done in 4 years. I said, great, 1 year, let's have it done. And so everyone laughed at the end of that, and I said, no, seriously, guys, let's try to work and see if we can get this done as quickly as we can. Well, when you have such a complex issue in front of you, it does take the minds of everybody. Constellation, the Waterkeepers, industry, environmental protection, all that we do, it is not easy. It takes a lot of sweat and equity to get it done. And that's what happened. It was a lot of sweat equity behind the scenes. I know we're here today to celebrate the end, but we ended up negotiating for 2 years, and after the 2-year mark, I started getting nervous. So in March, I said, I've given them long enough. So in March, we get back together, we have a meeting, and I said, okay, it needs to be done by June. And they all looked at me and said, June? I was like, you can do it. Everybody's on board right now. We can do this. And the team did it. They did it. So I am so proud of everyone who was involved in the negotiations. It took a lot of, like I said, sweat equity. It took a lot of cookies being made and baked goods, people coming in, long hours. And so I just want to thank you. But I do want to just take just a couple of minutes only. I know we don't have a lot of time. So I want to just recognize the people behind the scenes. Like any good movie you see, the movie is great and everyone's like, wow, that's the best movie I've ever seen. And you don't know who's actually behind the scenes making it happen. So today I'm going to tell you who's behind the scenes, who made it happen, and I'm going to give them their props right now. So Robin and Ted, your tireless advocacy that you and your organizations have done paved the way for today. You never gave up when those communications and negotiations got hard. I understand people were walking out the door not eating the cookies. It was crazy. They never gave up. They came right back the next day. We were worried, are they going to show up tomorrow? They came tomorrow. We had the cookies ready. Joe, Carrie, David, and the Constellation team, your willingness to step up and make real sacrifices and commitments and be a part of the solution has been so critical, and that is why we're here today. All the teams and experts and partners across state government who work with such focus and determination to get this right this time so we don't have to have a redo. Thank you for all that you did. Sometimes projects like this is a marathon and sometimes it's a sprint. This time it was both. My team started working on this again 2 years ago and we got it done. But it's not really just about the dollars that we're talking about, a settlement. It's a huge settlement and we're very proud of it. But it's about how do you get things done? And we prove, like the governor said, when you work together, you get it done. So what makes today such a historic moment is not just, again, the investment, it's how we got here. We brought government, industry, environmental advocates at the same table, but no, literally, at this huge table at MDE in Baltimore. And as you've heard before, 30 hours, 30 times, not 30 hours, maybe 30 hours a day, 30 times these meetings were occurring. And there were dozens of issues that was getting caught up. We were talking about aquatic science. We were talking about dredges, the economies of dredging. It was a lot. It was so much. Enough for people to just say, I'm done. We're just walking away from this. But they did not. They did not. And I'm just so very grateful. Let's see, I'm trying to rush through here because I'll be thanking everybody out there, including you all, by the time this is out. I can't name everybody, but I do want to give a special thanks to Department of Natural Resources. Assistant Secretary Kate Charbonneau was there. We've already heard about Andrea and your team, the Attorney General's team did a fantastic job. And again, I'll just end with this, and of course the Constellation team. I'll end with this. We could have given up months ago. We really could have. And people were ready to walk out the door. But I knew I needed my job. And I said, you guys are going to get back at that table. And I'll bring more food. I don't care. We're going to get it done. You got it done. It had nothing to do with me. It literally was the MDE team. It was Lee. It was Adam, Scott, and who am I missing? I got to name my people, guys. If I don't name anybody else. Lee Carey, Heather Nelson, Danielle, and Scott Goldman. Thank you all for all that you did. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Real quick, I did want to recognize a few folks in the audience who joined us. I see we have representatives from the Blacks of Chesapeake Foundation, as well as Courtney Jenkins, president of the Baltimore Metro Labor Council. He represents hundreds of thousands of union workers, many of whom have helped build and continue to maintain the Conowingo Dam. So thank you for being here. And I do also see my wife, Marvelly Nettles Simpson, representing the Prince George's County Council. Next up, another good friend of mine, someone I had the opportunity to kind of grow up in Maryland politics with. We zigzagged the state, working to elect folks up and down the ballot. And so then we even all pitched in to ensure that she was elected to the state Senate. And now that she's serving as the gentle lady from the Maryland 3rd Congressional District. So my good friend, Sarah Elfreth.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you on behalf of the entire federal delegation for all of the years and almost decade of work to get here. Thank you on behalf of the bipartisan Chesapeake Bay Task Force that is 3 states large that I have the privilege of co-chairing in the Congress. Thank you for delivering this product today. Now, I want to just touch on what the governor said. While I'm grateful to be here, I wish I was in Washington. I wish I was in Washington voting on a bipartisan budget deal to reopen the government. Instead, I'm learning a few lessons here about how to negotiate and how to deliver on behalf of the entire state of Maryland. The last time I was actually at the Conowingo Dam was in 2019. I was just elected to the Maryland Senate, just appointed to the Chesapeake Bay Commission, and actually toured the dam with the Pennsylvania delegation, which was an interesting way to see the dam for the first time. And to have conversations about, yes, all the challenges, but also all the opportunities that the dam presented for both of our states. And so yes, it was a long time coming to get here, but I want to just take a moment and thank MDE, Secretary McAlwin, thank you to your entire team. Thank you to Deputy Secretary Adam Ortiz, who has been on both sides of this as EPA administrator, trying to help negotiate this deal, and now at MDE, closing the deal, the entire MDE team. To the Constellation team, thank you for your patience and your diligence to stay at the table. To our incredible Attorney General, who knows how to make a deal, thank you for your diligence and your team for being here. To the governor, thank you for keeping the heat on, and thank you for keeping the pressure up. To the Waterkeepers and the entire environmental community, I also see Chesapeake Bay Foundation CEO Hillary Falk is here as well. Thank you for staying committed to this fight. We are 40 plus years now into restoring and protecting the Chesapeake Bay, not just for this community, but for communities up and down the entire watershed. And I think my colleague, Delegate Jalisi, would agree with me. We have not done it all perfectly in these last 40 years. And the moral of the story is we have to think outside of the box. We have an obligation and responsibility to get creative with how we address these generational challenges that, yes, Governor, we inherited. We inherited this third rail that is the Conowingo Dam. But this is the generation of leadership that actually stepped up and addressed it, not just for today, but for the next 50 years. So I am so, so grateful. Obviously, I don't have to tell you right now that the federal government is not just shut down, but it is broken. And we are unfortunately walking away from so many of our obligations as it relates to the Chesapeake Bay and sustainable agriculture in Pennsylvania, which directly impacts what is behind me, as it relates to renewable energy and storage and how to prepare for the economy of the future. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here today and to kind of get to nerd out with all of you about all the things that this deal is delivering. And if you're like me, you might have a thing for freshwater mussels and how important they are, not just for Maryland, but particularly up and downstream. As cleaners of the bay, we have a huge opportunity to make sure that we are thinking about stream health, which we don't often talk about or think about when it comes to the Chesapeake Bay. But as we all know, clean water, clean air, dirty air does not respect arbitrary state boundaries. And so what happens upstream very much impacts what's going downstream. And so the fact that this agreement addresses those up and downstream challenges and opportunities with freshwater mussels, with resiliency projects, again, up and downstream, something we never thought about until a few years ago. Controlling invasive species. I heard y'all had a snakehead cookout here a couple months back, but thank you for catching them upstream so we don't have to deal with that downstream. Again, you're hearing the theme of creativity in solving these problems, thinking outside the box, and Governor, thank you for that leadership as well. I greatly appreciate it. I know that these agreements take a lot of time. And when we're talking about the largest clean energy project in the state, with so much at stake to keep this thing running, but also a generational obligation to get every last dollar, and I'm sorry, Joe, but every last dollar of investment for the projects that really do move the needle on Bay health. I am so grateful. The patience, Madam Secretary, the consensus, Mr. Attorney General, the compromise that this took, my colleagues in Washington could learn a lot from this very agreement. So I am grateful to you all. And I'll just end by saying, while this is a monumental day and it took 9+ years to get here, it really is just the beginning of this work, because now the hard work begins. Making sure that we are investing this investment, and it is an investment, in the communities and the opportunities that are going to have the greatest return on that investment, not just for the Chesapeake Bay as an estuary, but for the people of Maryland. That's the work ahead, and I'm so excited to be a partner to you all and continue this work with you. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Next up, we will have Robin Broder, the Acting Executive Director of Waterkeepers Chesapeake.
I'll keep my remarks brief. I would echo a lot of what has been said already. And I want to, Ted and I want to thank Governor Moore, Attorney General Brown, Congresswoman Elfreth, and Secretary McElwain for your remarks and your support and your leadership. And I want to thank Constellation for hosting us today and being at the table with us for all those long meetings. Being here at Conowingo Dam, you experience the significance of its location. It's just a few miles from the Chesapeake Bay. The dam, as you've heard, has been here for almost 100 years, changing the river's flow, blocking fish passage, and altering the natural transportation of sediment. Over a decade ago, when the dam's federal license came up for renewal, the Waterkeepers throughout the Bay region recognized this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Maryland to secure water quality conditions that would help restore aquatic species and habitats and mitigate the sediment that surges downstream with every major rain event. Working to get the water quality conditions for a 50-year license, as you heard, was not easy. Took a lot of twists and turns, and it took a lot longer than we had hoped. But I'm happy to say that today's agreement marks a new era for the dam and a new commitment for clean water. We want to recognize, as it already has been done, the incredible effort of the folks at MDE and DNR and the state's attorneys who undertook this mediation process with us and Constellation. It was a journey. The funding for water quality projects, the pathway to dredging, and investments in living resources such as the freshwater mussel hatchery are significant steps forward. This agreement is not the end of our efforts, but rather the beginning of an important new chapter for the river and the bay. Waterkeepers Chesapeake and Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper, we look forward to providing oversight in partnership on the implementation of this important agreement. And before I turn the mic over to Ted, I want to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of our attorneys during the mediation process. Evan Isaacson from Chesapeake Legal Alliance and attorneys Sandra Franco and Jesse Dillon went above and beyond to bring the mediation to a successful conclusion. Thank you. They were supposed to be sitting up here, but they're modest and they're sitting back there. Ted and I also want to thank our attorneys from Earth Justice who provided counsel for over a decade. They led our successful legal action. They drafted briefs for the reconsideration and assisted in the mediation, among many other things. And so I wanted to give a shout out to them even though they weren't able to be here today. And that's the end of my remarks, but I will say that the partnerships that have been formed, I'm looking forward to those going into the future, and hopefully it'll be a lot easier going now than it was in the past. But thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Real quick, Delegate C.T. Wilson, Chair of the House Economic Matters Committee, sends his regrets he's not able to be here today. We also wanted to recognize Deb Haney from the office of U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen. Thank you. All right, and next up we have Ted Evgenitis. I watched a YouTube video last night.
All right, well, happy to close this out here. I don't know about the rest of everyone here who's been part of this mediation, but I got a couple more gray hairs. In exchange for that, I'm very proud to be here today. We're celebrating a major victory. So good morning, fellow partners, members of the press, and honored guests. Thank you, Governor Moore, Secretary McElwain, and Attorney General Brown for joining us today. And thank you for your leadership and your commitment to the Susquehanna River and the Chesapeake Bay. Today marks a new day for Maryland's waterways. If you take a look over at the dam, you can see its size and capacity. The construction of the dam was a modern marvel at the time. Imagine this dam being built today with 5,000 workers in less than 3 years. It sounds far-fetched, but that's what happened back between 1925 and 1928. I've toured the dam. When you go inside, you can appreciate the magnitude of the turbines and you can feel the power beneath you. But then you realize that it's actually the power of water and the mighty Susquehanna River that is really the driving force. In 1925, there weren't many concerns for water quality, aquatic species, or recreation. We know much differently today. Prior to construction of Conowingo Dam and other dams, there would have been millions of filter-feeding freshwater mussels per river mile. Today, we may be only to count on a few hands how many mussels we might see. It wasn't until the 1950s and into the 1970s that fish lift operations began to allow shad migration to continue as nature intended. And it wasn't until most recently that it became known that the dam's reservoir had reached a steady state. It had become so full of sediment that there wasn't any trapping capacity left. And through scour events, the dam alters the natural timing and delivery of sediment, which can harm critical habitat, smother oyster beds, and create dead zones around the Chesapeake Bay. Today's 2025 settlement addresses those concerns. Our team has spent the last year and a half working diligently through every single issue. you could think of in every effort to represent not just our interests, but those of our partners, the public, and of future generations. It took days, it took nights, it took weekends, and many meetings to feel confident that we've done better for our river. The investments spoken about today to help our fish move upriver are priceless. The financial obligations to restore a critical species, like freshwater mussels, has been a long time coming. The dollars devoted to dredging the reservoir to limit the pulses of pollution to the Chesapeake is something unprecedented and something that our organization and our partners will be advocating for going forward. 16 years. 16 years is the time spent by our small organization working to make sure Conowingo Dam is relicensed both with fair and responsible conditions. The impacts from Conowingo are real, and we are fortunate to have the opportunity to take the right steps and the necessary legal actions to get us to this point today. Looking ahead, we're committed to transparency, accountability, and the long-term stewardships of our state's water resources. On behalf of the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association, we would like to thank all stakeholders, regulatory bodies, and community members for their continued support and partnership in the relicensing of Conowingo Dam. And finally, I'd like to personally thank my board of directors who are here today. Thank you for coming. My staff who is here today, our amazing legal team and counsel, Robin's introduced, both past and present. It's been 16 years. Our partners, MDE, MDNR, and finally Constellation. Thank you. 2025 is a true turning point for the continued protection of our river and bay. And thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Real quick, also want to recognize Harford County Councilwoman Nolanda Robert. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you all for coming out today. We really appreciate you coming out to support and celebrate in this exciting announcement. And we just look forward to continue to work with you over the years to come. Thank you.
Hearing all the comments, I realized a huge omission on my part. I didn't recognize our lawyers. But if you'll forgive me, it's very strange to hear a presentation where lawyers are recognized so frequently as they have been. But I'd be remiss not to say, Dave Dardis, Carrie Allen, phenomenal work, you and your teams, all the experts at the company. I see Dave DeBruin. Dave is one of our outside lawyers for Jenner and Block. And I will just leave you with this. Dave actually retired, but kept only one matter that prevents him from really putting his feet up on the coffee table, and it's this one. So why don't we recognize all the lawyers, all the people, and wish Dave DeBruin a happy retirement.